Conflict-related displacement is a major global issue and has significant gender dimensions. However, it has been largely neglected or treated as subject of marginal concern in WPS policies. On the other side of the coin, responses to displacement also do not effectively integrate WPS into their programming.
Gender equality issues are often missed in a post-conflict phase, and the Women, Peace and Security agenda could become a key tool for making sure that that doesn't happen. If we look at the pillars of security and potential involvement of women in discussions around disarmament, and also involvement of women in security forces and police forces post-conflict, then there's a real opportunity to use 1325 and other resolutions as advocacy tools.
Displacement runs at the heart of the Women, Peace and Security agenda, and it certainly did when it was a women's movement. As it moved into an international instrument, with it we lost some of the experiences and needs of women and girls.
If we look at the question of security and disarmament, often women are left out in that discussion. So using 1325 and the subsequent resolutions could really help ensure that women are part of those security discussions, and that rebuilding security forces and local police forces include women.
What is also essential is for women to have access to meaningful livelihood opportunities. That means a safe working environment. That means having access to affordable childcare. That means having access to safe transfer to the workplace. Refugee women in Jordan are able to participate in supporting their communities, as well as contributing to alleviating some of the challenges that the communities suffer from through their participation as volunteers.
LGBTIQ refugees in Lebanon face a lot of problems inside Lebanon because of their sexuality from their families, because they came out, etc. But they didn't have this courage before displacement and the crisis problem in their countries. Especially lesbian and trans women are suffering from non-acceptance from society, and a lot of lesbian women are forced to be married inside the camp because of their sexualities.
There is actually a recent study done by Miftah, an NGO in Palestine which is member of the coalition of the Women, Peace and Security, and they assessed that at least 60% of the activities or the goals were achieved. Most of the goals that were achieved were civil society goals, including advocacy and protection and some kind of reporting and documentation, increase of women participation.
Civil society organizations in Iraq played really since 2006 a very important role in peace building, and especially in conflict resolutions and mobilizing women. Women can be agents for peace, not as only victims of the displacement and victims of terrorist and violent extremism.
The Jordanian National Action Plan for Women, Peace and Security has at its core the protection of refugee women from gender-based violence. But what is also important within this plan is the role of women in peace building.
We do know for a fact that the occurrence of violence against women is indeed more pervasive in situations of displacement, and therefore we need to have in place the right policies and mechanisms that would ensure that violence is reduced and prevented, that survivors of violence have access to appropriate responses, and that there is access to justice.
The real issue is whether the opportunities for gender equality that can exist at a moment of return or rebuilding societies are already missed. And perhaps the trick here is that we should be using the WPS agenda to help that. So if we look at some of the protection and prevention elements, it's important that discussions around access to land and property rights, which are key problems of displacement and return, that the WPS agenda could be used as an advocacy tool for that. And in terms of future prevention, ensuring women's participation in all those discussions will be very important.
The WPS agenda has great transformative potential because it puts the gendered impacts of conflict in the center of discussions and actions, which is why it is essential to include WPS and its principles in responses to conflict-related displacement, and use these to shape humanitarian and developmental responses both at national and international levels.